On the drive home with my husband, a flamboyantly dressed woman suddenly appeared and forced our car to a stop. She started pounding on my window, furiously demanding that I get out. I was completely bewildered, but then I saw my husband get out, wrap his arms around her, and start comforting her. Stop making a scene, he soothed. I didn't ignore your calls on purpose. The family dinner was just really hectic today. My heart seized. I opened my door to get out, but my husband used his free hand to shove me back into the passenger seat. Stay in the car. Don't you dare scare her. The woman pointed a menacing finger right at my face and screamed, "You bitch! Do you think Brandon belongs to you? How dare you monopolize him like this?" She continued, "If you ever stop him from taking my calls again, I'll rip your face to shreds." There I was, his actual wife, trapped in the passenger seat by my own husband, looking for all the world like some mistress who couldn't be seen in the light of day. It felt like I'd been struck by lightning. I had spent 3 years overseas, paralyzed and recovering from a traumatic childbirth, only to return and find his mistress screaming at me, as if she were the one with the ring. Brandon left me in the car right there in the middle of the street, scooping her up in his arms as if she were a fragile queen and carrying her away. I had just managed to look up all her information when my phone rang. It was her. "Don't you dare threaten Brandon with divorce to make him leave me," she sneered. "Let me tell you something, you idiot. I couldn't care less whether he's married or not. A marriage certificate is just a burden to me. Besides, children born out of wedlock still have inheritance rights, and I have all his money and his love." His money? What a fascinating little homewrecker. Then let's play a high-stakes game. "Only a shallow woman like you would care so much about a title," she said. "I'll let you keep being the wife. Just stay in your lane and don't interfere with Brandon and me." Candy kept talking, not like the other woman at all, but more like a triumphant wife issuing a warning. Her audacity, I knew, was fueled entirely by the confidence Brandon had given her. A fire raged in my chest as I clenched the phone. "If you were really so secure, you wouldn't be acting like a pathetic clown in front of me," I retorted. "And another thing, you homewrecker, my position as his wife isn't something you can let me have. It's something you could get on your knees and pray for and still never achieve. You think I care about something you pretend to despise." Calling her a homewrecker clearly struck a nerve. She spat back furiously, "You'll pay for that. I'm going to show you just how much your husband loves me." Then, with a sharp click, she hung up. I sat there for a long time, my hand frozen around my phone, the whole thing feeling like a sudden, horrible dream. If this woman hadn't shown up and caused a scene, I never would have believed it. Not from Brandon, the man who had sworn to stand by me through sickness and health. It was impossible to imagine that the same husband who was willing to spend our entire fortune to send me to the best medical facility in the world for treatment would betray me. I sent a text to Ethan Pierce, the lawyer my father trusted most. "I need to freeze our assets. Can you look into Brandon Carter's finances? He's having an affair." Making that decision felt like being torn in two, a suffocating pain that took my breath away. Brandon finally came home. He had the sullen, quiet look of a man who knows he's done wrong and has no defense, and he sat down silently across from me. I stared at his face for a long time, my mind flashing back to when he was 18. I saw him picking a bouquet of wildflowers from the side of the road, handing them to me with a shy smile and saying, "I'll always give Sonny flowers, to show that I'll always love Sonny with all my heart." A piercing pain made me want to scream, and my eyes began to burn with tears. Maybe it was seeing me cry that made him finally speak, his guilty expression shifting to one of nervous helplessness. "I failed you," he said. "I'm so sorry." The words hung heavy in the air. He could only meet my gaze for a second before his eyes darted away in guilt. "Is that your only explanation?" I tried to sound calm, but my voice broke into a sob, my vision blurring with tears. "Candy doesn't care about being my wife," he said. "I'll do my best to balance my relationship with both of you." His words were so outrageous I could barely breathe. Did he really expect me to share him? I bit my lip. There was no point in having a meltdown over someone who didn't love me. I forced myself to speak calmly. "Let's get a divorce. I'll set you both free." He looked up, his eyes instantly filled with a tense, unyielding resolve. "I married you. and I will be responsible for you for the rest of my life, he said firmly. Especially since you were paralyzed for 3 years after giving birth to our child. I will spend my entire life making it up to you. All I ask is that you don't make things difficult for Candy. I laughed, a bitter, angry sound. Make it up to me? By sleeping with another woman? He was speechless, looking as if my question was an impossible burden. I'm sorry, he finally managed. The only thing I can be honest about is that I love you, and I love Candy. I can't let either of you go. The tense silence was broken by his phone ringing. He glanced at the caller ID, his expression immediately turning anxious. I'm not divorcing you, he said hurriedly, and then he was gone. I didn't have to guess. It was Candy. For her, he was always on call, ready to drop everything. All the ways he used to show his love for me were now being lavished on her. I told his parents about Brandon's affair. They just laughed it off, saying dismissively, "What man doesn't have a woman on the side, especially a wealthy one?" Don't worry, the Carter and Hayes families are joined by this marriage. No one can ever take your place as his wife. They thought I had come begging for their support. In reality, I was there to inform them that once loyalty is gone from marriage, the only thing left to fight over is assets. I never wanted to be Brandon's adversary, but it was a matter of principle now. I was absolutely determined not to let his mistress take everything that was mine. Without taking much of a break, I immediately started working at the Carter Corporation. I had to entertain an important client whose birthday was coming up, so I went to the mall to select a new emerald necklace as a gift. The sales associate packaged the necklace and said politely, "That will be $29,000. I handed her my credit card. She ran it through the machine. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but the card has been declined for insufficient funds." I was stunned for a second. Brandon had given me that card 5 years ago. It was supposed to have no limit, though I rarely used it. Just as I was about to call him and ask what was going on, I heard the click-clack of high heels approaching from behind me. "Oh, darling, just wrap up all of your newest pieces for me," a voice purred. It was Candy. She sauntered up beside me, shot me a disdainful look, and pulled a black card from her brand-new Birkin bag. That black card was Brandon's primary unlimited card. The one in my hand was just the supplementary, its spending limit controlled by the main account. The associate addressed her politely. "Miss Miller, your total comes to $5,680,000. She swiped the card with a grand flourish, a smug look on her face, then pulled a cigarette from her purse and placed it between her lips with an air of superiority. The store employees immediately fawned over her like lapdogs, rushing to provide a lighter. She blew a cloud of smoke contemptuously in my direction. A man's heart is where his money is. How dare you even walk into a luxury boutique when you're broke? As the smoke hit my face, I stared at her coldly, pulled out my phone, and dialed. 911. I'd like to report a stolen credit card. My husband's card has been stolen and is being used for fraudulent purchases. Please send an officer immediately. Candy was surprised for only a moment before her bravado returned. Just wait until Brandon gets here, she taunted. He'll slap you silly. She immediately called him, fuming. Brandon, your little problem at home is harassing me again. I'm giving you 20 minutes to get over here and put her in her place. If you're not here in 20 minutes, we are through. She was so shameless she didn't care who knew she was the other woman. She wasn't one of those subtly manipulative types. Instead, she wore her status like a badge of honor, daring anyone in the world to judge her. The police arrived just moments before Brandon came rushing in, completely out of breath. His first instinct was to shield Candy behind him as he glared at me. What is all this drama about? Emboldened by his obvious favoritism, Candy lunged forward and slapped me hard across the face. "You fucking bitch," she shrieked. "Who the hell do you think you are, calling the cops on me? I'm spending my man's money, and it's none of your goddamn business." Her sharp nails left a bleeding scratch on my cheek. One slap wasn't enough for her. She lunged at me again. Brandon caught her from behind, wrapping his arms around her. "Baby, calm down," he cooed. "Let me handle this, okay?" She was like a raging lioness, and he was the calm zookeeper trying to tame her. Through it all, he never once raised his voice to her. Furious, I raised my hand to strike back, but Brandon caught my wrist in a vice grip, stopping me mid-swing. He frowned, pleading with me. "Just go, Sonny. Please." He stood against me, protecting her, turning me into a public spectacle. This was the man who had promised to always protect me, to never let anyone hurt me, and now he was hurting me alongside his mistress. A sharp, agonizing pain shot through me, and I swung my free arm, slapping Brandon hard across the face. "You're ganging up on me with her." He took the hit without flinching, his expression conflicted, but I could see the scales in his heart were still tipped in Candy's favor. Candy was horrified. "You bitch," she screamed, rushing at me again. "You dare hit my man? I'll kill you." Brandon intercepted her, still coaxing her gently. It's okay. I'm Euphine. Don't be angry. Why does she get to hit you?" Candy shrieked at him. "In this whole world, I'm the only one who gets to hit you." The entire time, Brandon held her close, the two of them looking more like a married couple than we ever did. The police separated us and asked if the card had actually been stolen. With tears in my eyes, I pulled up a digital copy of my marriage certificate on my phone and showed it to the officer. "We are legally married. My husband's credit card is in that woman's possession, and she just charged over $5 million on it without her knowledge. If that's not theft, what is?" Candy retorted indignantly. "I didn't steal anything. My boyfriend gave me this card to use. I have every right to spend my boyfriend's money." She turned to Brandon. "Honey, tell them. Did you give me this card or did I steal it?" She demanded an answer, completely confident of his reply. Brandon hesitated, glancing at me for just a second, which was enough to infuriate Candy. She slapped his arm. "Brandon, what was that look? You can't stand up to her, is that it?" "No. Candy, don't be so quick-tempered," he said, soothing her while his hand instinctively went to her waist. He then turned to the police. "It's all a misunderstanding. I gave her the card. It wasn't stolen, and she had my permission to use it." With those words, I was made into a complete and utter fool. The officers, realizing this was a domestic dispute, gave us a warning. "Sort out your personal problems on your own time. Don't waste our resources." Just as the police were leaving, Candy called out indignantly, "Wait, don't go. This bitch filed a false report and slandered me. I insist on pressing charges." Brandon tried to reason with her. "Candy, just let it go. Don't make a bigger scene. Do it for me, okay?" "No, you're protecting her. Does that mean you love her more than me? Fine. You two can have your happy life together, and I'll just go die." She screamed and thrashed about, a complete and total shrew. I could never understand how the gentle, good-natured Brandon I knew could fall for such a crass, volatile woman. He was so terrified of her leaving him that he steeled himself and turned on me. "You were wrong to do this, Sonny. Maybe a few days in a cell will give you time to think about what you've done." My heart turned to ash. It was like I didn't even know the man standing in front of me. As Candy insisted on pressing charges for filing a false report and defamation, the police had no choice but to take me into custody. As I was getting into the squad car, he ran up to me. "Candy's bark is worse than her bite," he said, as if that excused anything. "Just try to avoid her next time." I just stared at him, cold and silent. He wasn't worth another word. From a station, I called Ethan Pierce and told him to find a way to slip divorce papers into a stack of business documents for Brandon to sign. I was released from a holding cell 7 days later. It was the anniversary of the day my son was stillborn. Every year on this day, Brandon would go with me to our son's grave. I decided to put all our problems aside, just for today. I wanted our son to know that his parents hadn't forgotten him. The housekeeper told me Brandon hadn't been home all week. He was obviously with Candy. I called his phone, and she was the one who answered. "Well, look who's out of jail," she sneered. "What do you want with my man?" I was about to let her have it when Ethan arrived. He handed me a document. It was the divorce agreement already signed by Brandon. Since it was official, there was no point wasting my breath on her. "Today is the anniversary of his son's death," I said calmly. "Tell him if you want. It makes no difference to me." That set her off. She immediately started a video call. "You fucking bitch, look closely. Brandon's son is perfectly fine. If you ever curse our children again, I swear I'll kill you." On the screen, Brandon was sitting at a dining table with 2 children. The older one, a girl, looked about 2, and the younger, a boy, was about 1. A birthday cake sat on the table as Brandon pulled both children into his lap. "Come here, you two," he said lovingly. When he saw my face on the screen, he froze, a guilty look flashing in his eyes, but he showed no anger at Candy for revealing his secret. I stood there paralyzed. Even though we were done, the sight of it still felt like a knife in my heart. So, during the 3 years I was away getting treatment, he'd had 2 children with Candy. Then, as if remembering something, Candy twisted the knife. Oh, right, you're talking about the son who died. How morbid. Today is my son's birthday, you see. He doesn't have time to visit a dead baby. You can go by yourself. She hung up with a click. I stood there, frozen, my hand clutching the phone. Less than a minute later, a text from Brandon came through. Sonny, you've always been so understanding. Can I go with you to see our son tomorrow? Please believe me, I do still love you. I stared at the message and let out a hollow, incredulous laugh. You never know how much it hurts until it happens to you. Fine, Brandon. I'll play your game. I turned to Ethan, my voice steady. Don't file the divorce papers publicly just yet. I have another plan. That night, I secretly booked a flight and left the country, vanishing completely from Brandon's life. Candy, of course, had to have the last word, posting a comment on my profile. Ha ha ha, sore loser, running away with your tail between your legs. What a disgrace. But Brandon went half mad trying to find me, hiring private investigators all over the world. He even issued a public reward, 30% of the Carter Corporation stock for any information on my whereabouts, an amount he later increased to 50%. But he found nothing. A year later, he was at Disneyland with his son and daughter when he saw me, holding a baby in my arms. He froze, his eyes fixed on the child. Then they filled with tears as he rushed toward me. Sonny, I finally found you. I clutched my son tighter and took a step back, giving him a cool, distant look. Don't frighten my son. Brandon stared, incredulous for a moment, his gaze shifting from my face to the tiny, 3-month-old baby in my arms. He looked dazed as he asked, Our son? Before I could answer, a joyful smile spread across his face. This is wonderful. We have a child again. He seemed to have forgotten that in the entire time between my traumatic delivery and my return home, he hadn't touched me once. He also failed to notice the dark expression that crossed Ethan's face as he stood beside me. Bad lady, go away, a little voice shrieked. Get away from my daddy. Go away. Candy's daughter shoved me, her big, dark eyes glaring with pure hatred. The girl had never met me before, yet her hostility was immense. It was obvious what kind of stories Candy had been telling her children about me. Candy's son then burst into tears, pointing a tiny finger at me. Daddy, I want to go home to Mommy. That lady is bad. Brandon picked up his son and tried to soothe him, then explained to me gently, They're just kids. They don't know any better. Don't take it personally. I gave a faint smile. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. They have their mother's fighting spirit. I couldn't win against her, so I certainly can't win against them. With that, I put on my most heartbroken expression, turned, and started to walk away with my baby. Brandon grabbed my arm, his voice tight with panic. Sonny, don't go. I know I hurt you. I'll make it up to you, I promise. I forced tears into my eyes. How can you possibly make it up to me? It doesn't matter. I don't want to put you in a difficult position. My son and I will be just fine on our own. I made another move to leave, and he quickly blocked my path again. The boy in his arms continued to fuss. Daddy, don't talk to the bad lady. I'm going to tell Mommy. His daughter started hitting and kicking at me. I deliberately stumbled and fell, making sure to cushion my baby's fall. Right on cue, my son started wailing. I gathered him in my arms, cooing to him with a pained expression. Ethan rushed to my side, helping me up with a worried look before turning to Brandon with a stern accusation. Your mistress's children are attacking Sonny, and you can't even protect her. Why do you have to ask her to come back to you? Brandon's eyes locked onto Ethan's hand on my arm. A flash of jealousy crossed his face, and he yanked me away from Ethan and to his side. He glared at Ethan. This is a family matter, counselor. It has nothing to do with you. The two men stared each other down. I pulled my arm from Brandon's grasp. Ethan is right. If even your children can attack me, what would I be coming back to? Brandon's daughter's tantrum escalated. She kicked and screamed at me, Bitch, bad woman, you can't have my daddy. I'll kill you. I have to protect my mommy. As if finally making a decision, Brandon pulled his daughter aside and gave her a few sharp spanks. That's enough, Chloe, he scolded. You will not be so rude. Auntie Sunny is my wife, and you will respect her. Chloe burst into furious tears, pointing an accusing finger at me. She is not your wife. You said Mommy is the only wife you love, she howled. I'm going to tell Mommy you hit me because of this bitch. I pretended to burst into tears at being called a bitch by a child. In a fit of anger, Brandon raised his hand and slapped his daughter across the face. You are spoiled rotten. Who taught you to speak like that? Stunned into silence for a second, Chloe then began to scream at the top of her lungs. The ever-patient Brandon finally lost his temper. Take the children home, he ordered one of his assistants. With the distractions gone, he could finally speak to me calmly, his eyes pleading. Sonny, please come home with me. Please. I pretended to hesitate for a few moments. Just as his worried eyes started to well up with tears, I finally relented. Okay. When I walked back into the Carter family home holding my 3-month-old son, my in-laws were beaming with joy. They fussed over me. Sonny, you've been through so much. But don't you worry. You are the true Mrs. Carter, and we won't let you or your child be mistreated ever again. My father-in-law added, I'm transferring all of my personal assets to my first grandson. Mr. Carter held my son absolutely captivated. His personal fortune was the bulk of the Carter family wealth. I had to suppress a smile as I calmly accepted their offer. To appease me, Brandon also made a promise. Sonny, I'll give 40% of my assets to our son as well. I feigned graciousness. On our son's behalf, thank you. His tense expression softened, and he visibly relaxed, assuming he had been forgiven. Just then, his phone began to ring incessantly. I didn't need to guess who it was. It was Candy. Brandon watched my expression carefully as the phone continued to blare. Finally, he decided to answer it outside. It's just work, he said. I'll be right back. He was learning to be slightly more discreet, at least enough to make an excuse. What surprised me, however, was that he returned after only a few minutes, instead of disappearing for the entire night like he used to. His parents were pleased with his behavior, making a point to praise him in front of me. Brandon is a changed man, so much more devoted to his family. Now that he has a son, he'll be even better. He glanced at me, as if looking for praise. That's right. From now on, my family is my priority. I just offered a faint smile and said nothing. For dinner, his mother and Brandon had the kitchen prepare all my old favorite dishes. But nothing tasted right. After a year of eating Ethan's cooking, my palate had been completely spoiled. Brandon noticed I wasn't eating much. Is it not to your liking? He asked with concern. I smiled faintly. I actually prefer spicy food now. He looked surprised for a moment. I used to hate spicy food. He put an arm around my shoulder, trying to be charming. Well, tastes change. I'll tell the kitchen to spice things up for you next time. He had no idea it wasn't just my taste in food that had changed. A member of the staff came in. Sir, that woman is here. Brandon's face froze. He shot me a nervous glance. I'll be right back. A second later, the sound of a car horn blared from the front gate, followed by screaming. Brandon Carter, get out here. Get out here right now. It was Candy. You hit our daughter for that bitch. Did you think I wouldn't find out? How dare you treat my child like that? His parents' faces darkened, and his father slammed his chopsticks on the table. Look at the kind of woman you've gotten involved with. An absolute shrew, and now she's at our door. Brandon looked at me, his face full of shame. I'll handle this, he promised. He rushed outside, and I followed him. Brandon had his arms around her, his voice a mixture of anger and pleading. Stop it, Candy. If you don't stop, I'm going to get angry. Just go home. What scene? The minute that bitch comes back, you hit your own daughter. Brandon, are you out of your mind? Or do you just not love us anymore? Candy was already hysterical, but when she saw me, she became even more enraged and lunged, trying to claw at my face. You shameless bitch. You made my man hit my daughter. I'll kill you. I just stood there, perfectly still, watching her completely lose control. Brandon held her back, but she showed no signs of calming down. Her temper flared, and her insults grew viler. Didn't you already run away? What are you doing back here now? And with a bastard child, no less. The sharp crack of a slap echoed in the air. I was stunned. I never, ever thought that Brandon, who had tolerated all of Candy's outrageous behavior, would actually strike her. Candy was stunned into silence for a moment, staring at Brandon in disbelief as huge tears welled up in her eyes. You hit me, she whispered. You hit me for her. Brandon's expression was a mixture of pity, guilt, and frustration. I'm sorry, he said, trying to soothe her. I lost my temper. But please, can you just stop? This is only going to make my parents hate you more. Sonny has even accepted your presence. Can't we all just get along? Candy pointed a trembling finger at me, her voice breaking. You're taking her side. You hit me, and you hit our daughter for her. After all that, you expect me to just be quiet? Brandon, you've changed. Brandon gripped her by the arms. Look, from now on, I'll stay with you Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I'll be home Tuesdays and Thursdays. How about that? Just please, stop making a scene. Candy was unmoved, still sobbing with rage. He tried to reason with her patiently. Can you please try to see my position? Don't put me in the middle like this. I love you, but I also love Sonny. I can't divorce her. The Carters and the Hayes are family friends. My family gave their word we would never abandon her. Candy, I know you have a temper, but you're usually so reasonable. Please try to understand. Just as she seemed to be calming down, Brandon's parents emerged from the house, their expressions thunderous. What are you standing there for? His father roared. Get this woman off my property. If she ever shows her face here again, I'll have her legs broken. Brandon immediately moved to shield her, pleading with his father. Dad, please just give me some time to sort this out. Candy has given us 2 grandchildren. She has a temper, but she's not a bad person. Just give me some time. Just then, a pair of headlights swept across the driveway as a car pulled up to the gate. I stepped forward with my baby in my arms and spoke calmly to the Carters. Since my presence here is so upsetting to her, I won't stay. I'll get a hotel room. Please, don't let me get in the way of your love. If she wasn't going to play the victim, then I would. I squeezed out a few tears and, with a look of profound understanding, walked toward Ethan's car. Seeing me about to leave, Brandon and his parents grew frantic. They all moved to block my path. Brandon grabbed my arm, his eyes pleading. Sonny, don't go. This is your home. Why would you stay in a hotel? I can fix this, I promise. Please, trust me. His mother reached for my son. Sonny, the Carters only have one daughter-in-law, and that's you. Other women mean nothing to us. Rest assured, you will always be Mrs. Carter. No one else. As she spoke, she shot a look of pure disgust at Candy. His father chimed in. You are Mrs. Carter. You have a home. You will not stay in a hotel. Don't worry. I will give you a satisfactory resolution to this. Candy couldn't stand being insulted like this, but she didn't dare cross Brandon's parents. Instead, she turned all her frustration on him, stomping her foot like a petulant child. Honey, say something. I gave you 2 children. I've earned my place here, she cried. Mr. Carter shot back coldly. We don't reward people for their hard work in this family. I started sobbing again, pretending to be heartbroken as I turned to leave. Please, don't let me ruin your family's peace. I should just go. I paused and looked up at him, my eyes glistening with fake tears. Brandon, life is too short. I don't want you to be tied to me out of a sense of duty. I know Candy is your true love. I wish you both happiness. With that, I turned to leave for good. That finally pushed Brandon over the edge. He made his decision. Get her out of here, he ordered the security guards. The guards moved toward Candy, who refused to cooperate. Brandon, is this really how you're going to treat me? She screamed. Don't you love me anymore? When she wouldn't move, the guards physically picked her up and carried her off the property. Her heartbroken screams echoed long after she was gone. With his parents on either side of me, urging me to stay, I gave Ethan a reassuring glance before following them back inside. Later that night, after everything was quiet, Brandon came into my room wearing silk pajamas. He tried to act casual, but I could see the guilt and awkwardness in his posture. My son was already asleep, but I kept him in my arms, rocking him gently as an excuse to avoid any physical contact. Brandon sat down next to me, and almost immediately, his phone started ringing off the hook. He declined the call, but Candy immediately called back. He kept declining until, with a rare show of impatience, he turned the phone off completely. I asked him calmly, "Can you tell me why you love her so much?" I had already investigated and knew the answer, but I wanted to hear it from him. He looked down, silent for a few seconds, then glanced at me. Seeing that I was calm, he finally decided to be honest. He explained that while I was away, he would buy fresh flowers every day to show me during our video calls because he knew how much I loved them. Candy owned the flower shop. Over time, he got to know her and found her interesting, authentic, and completely uninhibited. He, on the other hand, had grown up in a wealthy family, always bound by rules and expectations. Candy had a terrible temper, a foul mouth, and acted purely on impulse. But to Brandon's well-behaved, conventional soul, her wild, carefree nature was everything he secretly craved. He knew he could never be as shameless and free as she was, but being with her felt like a release for his own repressed spirit. And I was just like him. We were both raised to be too proper, too perfect, living lives that were completely devoid of spontaneity or excitement. I listened to his explanation, my heart as still and calm as a frozen lake. After he finished, he asked me, "Where did you go for the past year? Were you okay?" I replied, "I was fine. Ethan took very good care of me, so my life was actually wonderful." He completely missed the implication in my words. "Attorney Pierce was your father's most trusted man," he said magnanimously. "He's done a good job. Let's give him a 10% raise." I just smiled. "You don't need to worry about that. I know how to handle it." After our talk, perhaps out of guilt, Brandon started treating me better. For the next few days, no matter how many tantrums Candy threw, he didn't leave the Carter estate to see her. Candy finally lost her patience. She staged a fake suicide attempt to threaten Brandon, and what's more, she leaked the story to the press. Within half a day, it was the top trending story everywhere. Brandon Carter's mistress driven to suicide by vengeful wife leaves behind 2 innocent children. The internet exploded with comments vilifying me. She can't keep her man, so she takes it out on the other woman. So pathetic, another read. Okay, Candy Miller is a homewrecker, but that's not a capital offense. Sonny Hayes shouldn't have pushed her to this. This is just a game for the rich. When he got tired of his toy, he and his wife teamed up to get rid of her. Brandon checked every hospital in the city, but couldn't find Candy. She had deliberately gone into hiding with her children. She sent me a message from a fake account to taunt me. "I never cared about being his wife before, but now that you're back, you bitch, I'm gonna fight you for it. Brandon loves me too much." I don't believe for a second he'd abandon his 3 children. Just you wait. I laughed. She had no idea that the title she was fighting to the death for was something I had thrown away long ago. Finding the whole thing amusing, I sent her a reply. "Candy, I'm not interested in these petty games. I prefer to play for higher stakes." She was fiercely competitive. As soon as I sent my message, she fired back with a string of insults. It was as if she thought she could win by simply having the last word. The online backlash against Brandon was severe. It began to affect the Carter family's reputation. To protect the family name, his parents forbade him from looking for Candy. The Carters then issued a public statement. They would take full financial responsibility for the 2 children. However, they stated they would never acknowledge Candy Miller. If she tried to use the children as leverage, they would withdraw all support. The scandal caused the Carter Corporation's stock to plummet. I decided it was time for my final move. I told Ethan to schedule a press conference. Just as I predicted, on my way there, Candy went berserk, ramming her car into mine and forcing me to stop. She then dragged me from my car at knife point and kidnapped me. In a derelict warehouse, she tied me up and, completely unhinged, recorded a video of me to send to Brandon. "You forced me to do this," she screamed into the phone. "Since you don't care if I live or die, I'm going to kill this bitch first." If she hadn't come back, everything would have been perfect. She's the one who ruined everything. "Brandon, if you don't want her to die, you have one option. Divorce her and marry me." I gave a sarcastic laugh. "Candy, let me tell you a little secret." Her eyes lit up with curiosity, and she stared at me intently. "What secret?" "I divorced Brandon over a year ago. I'm married to Ethan Pierce now. My son is his son. So you see, you don't need me to get a divorce for you to move up. And even though I'm divorced and my son isn't a Carter, Brandon's parents have already signed over all of their assets to him. Brandon even threw in 40% of his own. The truth is that fortune originally belonged to my family, the Hayes family. After my parents died, they entrusted the Carters to manage it for me. I just found a creative way to take it back." She stared at me, completely stunned and disbelieving, pointing the large knife at my face. "You're lying, you bitch." I smiled calmly. "As a mother, I understand. You're just trying to secure a future for your children. So I hope you'll be smart about this. If you kill me, you'll be a murderer. And in this country, that means life in prison or worse. You're smart enough to know that." She never actually intended to kill me. This was all just show to threaten Brandon. Otherwise, she wouldn't have used such a realistic-looking prop knife. "Candy, put the knife down. Do you hear me?" Suddenly, the warehouse was surrounded. Brandon was there with the police. When he saw Candy press the knife against my throat, he panicked, snatched a gun from an officer's holster, and aimed it right at her head. "Put it down. Do you hear me? Put it down now, or I'll shoot." His face was a mask of pure fury. In that moment, there was not a trace of affection left for the woman he once claimed to love. I was surprised by the intensity of his reaction. Candy's heart broke. "So, it was always her," she said, her voice full of defiance. "Sunny was the one you loved all along, and I was nothing. The more you tell me not to touch her, the more I want to." As she spoke, she raised the knife as if to strike me. A loud bang echoed through the warehouse. Just as her arm reached its peak, Brandon fired without a moment's hesitation. The bullet hit her squarely in the forehead. Candy collapsed, her eyes wide with shock, her final gaze fixed on Brandon in utter disbelief. She never imagined that the man she loved would be the one to end her life. Brandon, still shaken, rushed over and pulled me into his arms, soothing me like a child. "Don't be afraid," he whispered. "It's over. It's okay. No one will ever hurt you again." He didn't spare a single glance for Candy's body, as if they had never meant anything to each other. Such belated devotion. Does it always take bloodshed to make love feel real? An officer discovered the knife was a prop and exclaimed in surprise. A flicker of shock crossed Brandon's face, but only for a second. He was taken into custody for grabbing an officer's weapon and for manslaughter. As they led him away, he tried to reassure me. "Sonny, don't worry. Nothing will happen to me. I'll be out soon. Just take our son and wait for me at home, okay?" I smiled faintly. I don't think that would be appropriate. My husband wouldn't like that. He stared at me, completely confused. At that exact moment, on a massive screen overlooking the nearby intersection, a live press conference began to play. It was Ethan. "Sunny Hayes is my wife," he was saying. "We were married last March. Her divorce from Brandon Carter was finalized in February of last year. Our child was conceived in April. Everything is perfectly legal." He held up our marriage certificate for the cameras. "The reason for the divorce," Ethan continued, "is as you all know. Brandon Carter engaged in adultery and fathered 2 children outside of his marriage." Brandon looked at me as if he'd been struck by lightning. "Sonny, the sweet taste of revenge made me smile. What's the matter? You don't like it when I treat you the same way you treated me? Good. You're not supposed to." I didn't give him a second glance as I got into my car and drove away. The truth was, even if the police hadn't arrived, I would have been fine. Ethan had people watching over me the entire time. Brandon would never know that everything that happened today was part of a plan Ethan and I had set in motion long ago. The internet exploded again, but this time all the outrage was directed at Brandon and Candy. When Brandon's parents found out the truth, they were both hospitalized with stress-induced heart problems. But they never tried to reclaim the assets they'd signed over to my son. They knew any attempt to do so would only bring more shame upon the Carter name, especially since the fortune had belonged to the Hayes family to begin with. I was only taking back what was rightfully mine. Before long, Brandon was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 1 year in prison. The media cornered me, reporters shouting questions. "Miss Hayes, marrying an ordinary lawyer. Aren't you worried you're marrying beneath you? What if you regret it?" I just smiled politely. "Do you really call marrying the sole heir to the richest family in the state marrying down?" And just like that, speak of the devil, Ethan appeared, walking toward me with a smile. As for our love, it had come as a complete surprise, but it burned brightly enough to last a lifetime.